His colleagues loved him, genuinely. The kind of person who remembered birthdays, who stayed late to help, who made everyone in the room feel like the most important person in it. His manager called him one of the most emotionally intelligent people she had ever managed. His friends described him as warm, generous, the first one to show up when things got hard. His wife described something different. She described a man who came home and became someone else. Not always, not even most of the time, but in the moments that mattered most. The moment when she was vulnerable, when she needed something, when she got something wrong. Something in him sharpened, words that landed with a precision that felt deliberate, a coldness that arrived without warning and left without apology. It wasn't like that with anyone else, only her, only the people closest to him, only the ones he loved the most. And that, the specificity of it, the fact that it was love and not hatred that seemed to be the trigger, was what confused her the most, was what kept her from naming it for years. Because how do you explain that the person who is cruelest to you is also the person who loves you most deeply? His name is Marcus, and what psychology has discovered about people like him is not a comfortable thing to know. Because it is not about him being broken, it's about how intimacy itself, real deep genuine intimacy, can become, for certain people, the most dangerous emotional territory they have ever entered. Marcus grew up in a home where love and pain arrived together, not abuse in the way most people picture it. His father was not a monster. He was a man who loved his son and also had no emotional vocabulary whatsoever, who showed up to every school event and never once asked how Marcus was feeling about anything, who expressed care through provision and criticism in equal measure, and who, when he was stressed or overwhelmed, took the edges off on the people closest to him because they were safe. Marcus learned something in that house. He learned it in the way children learn everything important, not through being told, but through repetition, through pattern, through the slow accumulation of experience that eventually becomes belief. He learned that closeness comes with an edge, that the people who love you are also the people who can hurt you most efficiently, that intimacy is not a safe place, it's an exposed place, a place where the parts of you that are most vulnerable are also the most visible. He carried that belief into every relationship he ever had, not consciously, not as a decision, as a posture, a set of reflexes that activated, reliably, whenever someone got close enough to matter. With strangers, with colleagues, with people who could live without destroying him. He was the man everyone admired, warm, present, generous. With his wife, the person whose opinion of him mattered more than anyone else's, he was guarded in a way that, occasionally, under pressure, became something that looked a lot like cruelty. He didn't understand why. When she tried to tell him, he denied it with a sincerity that was completely genuine, because from the inside, he wasn't being cruel. He was protecting himself, and had been doing it for so long that the two things felt identical. Here's what researchers have found. Intimacy lowers inhibition. This is not a metaphor, this is a neurological fact. The closer two people become, the more history they share, the more someone has seen of you, the more you have allowed yourself to need them, the more the brain's regulatory systems relax their grip. This is in most circumstances a beautiful thing. It is why people cry in front of their partners when they wouldn't cry in front of anyone else. Why they say things to the people they love that they would never say to a stranger. Why genuine intimacy produces a kind of freedom that no other relationship can replicate. But inhibition does not selectively relax. When it lowers, everything comes through. The warmth, the fear, the love and the unprocessed anger, the tenderness and the defensive reflexes that were built years ago in a completely different room with completely different people. Psychologists call this the closest relationship hypothesis. The research is consistent across cultures, across demographics, across relationship types. We are more likely to express negative emotions, frustrations, criticism, contempt, aggression toward the people we are closest to than anyone else in our lives. Not because we love them less, because we love them more, because they are the only people with whom we have stopped performing. For most people, this produces occasional sharpness, a tone of voice at the end of a hard day, a critical moment that comes out more harshly than intended, friction that gets repaired. For people like Marcus, people who grew up in environments where intimacy was genuinely associated with pain, where closeness reliably produced hurt, the lowered inhibition unlocked something more specific. The nervous system, trained to expect threat from the people closest to it, begins to treat love itself as a threat signal. The brain reads vulnerability, being deeply known, deeply needed, deeply cared for, as danger, as it responds to danger the way it always has, with armor, with distance, with a particular coldness that looks from the outside like cruelty but feels from the inside like survival. The cruelty is not the thing, the cruelty is the symptom. Underneath it, every time is a person who is frightened, who loves so much it has become unbearable, who has no other way, yet, of managing the terror of needing someone that much. Marcus's wife, her name is Diane, spent 3 years trying to make sense of the pattern before she could finally put it into words that she could hold. She said, "He is worse to me in the moment when I know he loves me the most, when I have done something that genuinely moved him, when he's scared of losing me, when he needs me and hates that he needs me. Those are the moments when something closes in him and something sharp comes out." She was right, and when she said it to him, not as an accusation but as an observation, quietly, after a therapy session they had both attended, something in him went very still, because he recognized it not as a strategy, not as something he had chosen, but as a reflex so old and so familiar that until that moment, he had never once been able to see it from the outside. He had spent his entire adult life being the warmest person in every room, and the cruelest person in the only room that mattered. He hadn't known. That is the part that is both the most important thing to understand and the hardest to believe. He genuinely had not known. Here's what makes Marcus's case significant beyond his own marriage. Research consistently shows that the people most likely to express aggression toward intimate partners are not the people who feel least. They are the people who feel most. The ones with the highest emotional sensitivity. The ones for whom relationships carry the most weight. The ones who love the hardest. This does not make Diane acceptable. Diane was hurt repeatedly by someone who loved her. The fact that the love was real does not undo the damage that the cruelty did. These two things are both true at the same time, and neither one cancels the other out. But it matters, psychologically, clinically, humanly, because it changes the question. The question is not, why is he so cruel? The question is, why does love feel so dangerous to him that he has to attack it before it can hurt him? And that question has an answer, and answers, unlike character judgment, can be worked with. Marcus has been in therapy for 2 years. It has been, by his own description, the hardest thing he has ever done. Not because the therapist is demanding, because being asked to sit inside vulnerability without reaching for armor is, for someone who has spent 40 years treating exposure as a threat, almost physically unbearable. He is learning, slowly, some weeks better than others. Diane is still there. That, too, is complicated. That, too, in its own psychology, one for another day. Think about the people in your life who have hurt you most. Not strangers, not enemies. The ones who knew exactly where to press because they were the ones you let close enough to find out. There is a particular kind of pain that only intimacy can produce, not because love is dangerous, but because love requires the one thing that every defended person finds almost impossible to sustain. It requires you to stay open, to keep the hammer off, to remain soft in the direction of someone who has the power to destroy you, and to trust, against every instinct your wounded nervous system possesses, that they won't. For some people, that trust was never built. It was dismantled quietly in childhood by people who loved them and hurt them at the same time, and never once noticed the contradiction. Those people grew up, they fall in love, they find someone who matters more than anyone else in the world, and then the old reflex fires, because the brain does not know the difference between the person who hurt you then and the person who loves you now. It only knows that the person has gotten close, and that person, for a very long time, meant danger.